I move for no man, no man, no man, no man, no
We're calling a draw.
man.
Just a flesh wound, 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 just a flesh wound.
What's up, guys? The podcast has officially started. Episode 4. How's it going, fellas? Gary,
Doing great, buddy.
little spoon trick on your nose.
All good over here, up in the frigid north.
Gary, I saw you have some injuries going on.
Would you like to see how my bruise is currently doing? The one.
Bruise update. The shoulder one. Nice. It's traveling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's
Wait, was that from sparring or rolling?
Yeah, it was from sparring. I must have taken a shot into somebody's
Right.
elbow, knee, hip, something like that, and then the muscle swelled up. And then the next day, I had a big dark bruise, and it just started spreading. I'm on some anti-inflammatories for some injuries that I'm on. So, that and probably the mixture of that and Cialis, and makes it so that your blood doesn't resorb as easily. So.
But the bicep looks jacked though. That's a
Thanks.
good
looks
look.
very
Thanks.
nasty.
No.
Biceps looking real swole.
It's
That's
probably the BCAAs. I was just drinking.
the Five Guys diet right there in full effect.
You know what I had this morning to eat?
What?
Chris is gonna pull all of his hair out. So this morning I stopped at a 7-Eleven. I ate a sausage.
Right away. You said 7-Eleven to eat.
I had a sausage biscuit and a breakfast pizza.
Breakfast burrito.
There were things in the breakfast pizza that I could not identify as specific foods. Normally you're thinking okay, it's a pizza. There's going to be some cheese. Maybe because it's breakfast, there's going to be eggs, sausage,
bacon.
There was something in there. It tasted good. It was almost like a gravy or something. It tasted good, but I could not identify it as any normal thing that would be on a pizza. So I'm not really sure what I ate this morning. I'm going to be honest with you.
I don't think the people who made it are sure what you ate either. Fuck.
It's beautiful, Gary.
High-level athlete here, guys. High-level athlete.
I'm going to hit you guys with a little fan question that we got that I think is very interesting. It's actually something that I want to know myself. What's the biggest adversity you guys have had to overcome? I know you guys have had a lot of scraps, have gotten really dirty in there. I'm not talking about the bedroom, Gary.
I've had to overcome a lot of adversity there.
Gary, you want to go first, or you want me to tackle this one right away?
Chris, you go first.
Yeah. I think it would be easy to say, adversity-wise, just to talk about fights, being in fights and getting hurt. But honestly, that's just part of it, and you kind of come to expect that. It's more the other stuff. I went through a really trying time. I had a really good job on Long Island, and I was working as a lab technician at Cold Spring Harbor Labs doing research. And I was just you know what? One day I was fuck this. I want to be a pro fighter. This is what I want to do. I want to be a world champion. I'm wasting my time here. I'm not giving my all into what I really want to do. So I put in my 2 weeks.
You were a part-time boxer.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was finishing up my my master's degree, and I was working in a lab and training at night and fighting when on the weekends. Literally, I would have a fight, and the people from the lab would come and watch me fight. But I just wasn't really living it, So I was I'm done with this. I'm gonna get stuck here forever. And the girl I was dating at the time and my parents were all about that. They're like, hey, don't fight. You got a good job, you got benefits, you got dental, which is hard to come by. So, but I was nah, I can't do this. So I decided to move to Las Vegas because it's the hub of fight sports. So I took whatever money I had, I put in my 2 weeks. I went out there and I was actually sleeping on Jay Hieronymus's his couch for the first 2 weeks I was there, and just going from gym to gym sparring. And I did that for 2 weeks. I had a fight and came back, and I was all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm moving out there full time. So moved out there, took whatever money I had, and that money did not last at all. I was literally sleeping. We had a house, my trainer and I. I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and my end table was a turned over shipping box with a pillowcase over it. And we got robbed twice while I was there. I was there for less than 6 months in Las Vegas, and my prize, they stole our TV, which was whatever. We didn't have internet or cable anyway. We were stealing internet for the people next door, but they stole my video camera. It was like a Hi8, one of those shitty double tape, video cameras that weighed like 10 pounds, and it was all my sparring.
People from these generations don't know what those video cameras are like anymore.
Real,
they're like, oh,
like,
video camera. They just think of a phone now.
Exactly.
You had like a camera that was like roughly the size of this stool. You fucking look through.
And it weighed 35 pounds, and so I had all my sparring videos from Las Vegas out there, like sparring like world class guys. I sparred Canelo Alvarez, like I had that on video, and they stole that.
So you're the textbook definition of dropping everything to chase your dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have stories like that. Anyone who's made it, all champions have that kind of that road where, and that's the real adversity. That's the stuff that people don't see. It's not the stuff in the ring. Yeah, you see me with my eye broken in a fight. You see me down on the floor and get up and fight and win. But that's the stuff you see. It's this stuff. That's the real adversity.
Yeah.
Well, I think just taking that first step is really hard for everyone. It's like it's such a big change. It's such a drastic change.
Yeah.
Especially if you had, such a stable life or environment.
Yeah, I was sad. I had a good opportunity. I had a girlfriend. And she had a good job, and I was making steady money. And like I said, I had insurance, which I didn't get until very recently, 10 years later. But yeah, no, it's taking that, like you said, taking that first step, and I was just like, I'm just gonna burn the bridge behind me, so I have no choice but to make it.
Yeah.
What about you, Gary?
I was talking about something similar to what he was just saying the other day, like about all that stuff that people don't see, because I mean, man, are we quick to criticize like the people that become really, really successful? You know what I mean? But so rare.
The overnight success.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's somehow like, they didn't work for it in any way, or they don't deserve it, or this, that, and the other thing. And it's just like, man, you guys have no idea like what they had to sacrifice probably to get there, and people are going around saying that, oh, so-and-so doesn't deserve to make X amount of money, or, have this amount of success, or blah, 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 blah. It's crazy, man. So the most adversity that I ever went through in the bedroom was probably about 6'3", 300 pounds at least. But in life,
that's a big one.
Dude, that is.
But in life,
big ass woman.
What was his name? Gary, what was his name?
Gary's blushing. It might be true.
I was trying to come up with a good name, but I couldn't come up with anything. The best I came up with was like Big Bob or something. Like, I don't know, because it has to be big something.
Big Al.
But yeah, Big Al. Yeah, so like similar story. So I wouldn't necessarily say I had like I hadn't gotten to the point where I got like a well-paying job or anything like that, but I was trying to juggle a lot of different things. My mom was super insistent about, I got into jiu-jitsu at like 15, but my mom was super insistent about me going to college, and she actually wanted to try to push me to get like a master's as well, similar to your situation. She never really believed in the idea that I would be able to be successful and make money doing jiu-jitsu or teaching jiu-jitsu or anything like that until like I made it happen. Like literally until the day that she started realizing like, oh wait, like he's getting paid to do this match and then that match, and he's getting sponsored, and then he's got his gym that he's running, and that makes money. Like once all those ducks were in a row, then she was like on board and supportive. She likes to pretend that she was like 100% of supportive from the get-go, Oh yeah, no, I always believe, but like she was begging me to go to like to go through a master's program to do physical therapy or something, as a quote unquote backup or whatever. But I was dying, man. Like my last 2 years of college, I was training full time, competing in like world championships and stuff like that. At that time, professional jiu-jitsu wasn't a thing. Like you weren't able to make money realistically. The only way you could do it is to run a gym. So I wasn't making any money doing that, but I was still training like a professional athlete, right? I was taking 18 credits a semester. I went back and forth between like 3 or 4 different jobs, not necessarily all at the same time, but I was running back and forth doing stuff like that. I had an unpaid internship as well that I had to do during school. Just like 1,000 things to juggle. I was like sleeping I don't know, 3-4 hours a night. And as far as money was concerned, similar situation. Like I would collect all the coupons that they left at the dorms at school for like Burger King and McDonald's and stuff like that. It's probably where my unhealthy eating habits started. Like literally you could get like 3 Whoppers for like $1 with some of these coupons. And I'm like, hell yeah. I was like, that's like 2 whole meals that I just got there. So for $1, I mean, hell, like, well, how can you beat that? So
yeah, I lived off Taco Bell in college.
Yeah, I had just a stack of those like in my passenger seat, and I would just use them at whatever places I could find, and that was like most of my sustenance. Maybe I would make myself.
You're doing amazing. So you probably.
What's that?
Probably won't live. You're doing amazing. So that's a testament to that type of diet. You probably won't live past 50, but
doesn't matter.
You're here.
All the glory.
You're a
all the glory is now.
We made it. Yes. We made it for now. Yes. But yes, and then like once I graduated, I was happy that I went to school. I think if I would do it all over again, if I went to school, I would have studied like business instead of exercise science, which is what I went for. I just think it would have been more applicable to like what I do now and more helpful. Although business kind of changes constantly, and the business landscape that existed back then compared to what it's like now with social media is so drastically different that who knows, maybe that would have been irrelevant information too.
I would have went to law school because looking over these contracts for fights, man, forget it. That would have really helped.
Eventually, just started running my own school. There was like a falling out, and then I started running the school. I basically bought somebody else's school. He kind of like, I couldn't buy it because I didn't have any money, but I would give him a certain percentage of the profits per month or something so that I could run that. So I was still doing a whole bunch of shit. But then at that point, once I was running the school, I was able to just focus on martial arts, because even though I was teaching, and that's not really necessarily training, like it was still, I could live like a martial arts lifestyle where, training was my life. And once that happened, man, like things really started to come together. There was a brief hiccup when I moved in with a girlfriend and, had to leave in 2 months because it was a disaster. And I ended up getting assaulted and had like duct tape put all over my walls. And we'll save that story for another day because it's a long one. But
Jesus.
But after that, I mean, things just kept getting better and better. It was winning, matches. The jiu-jitsu professional landscape started to grow, and life started to become good. But like, man, I was on 3 separate occasions, I fell asleep at the wheel, ran into mile markers, medians, like all different kinds of things, and just could have died because of how little sleep I was getting back then.
It's crazy, man. You were just grinding yourself down to dust.
Yeah. I remember those days, like you said, sleeping a couple hours a night, waking up at 5 a.m. to train people, then to train during the day, and then go back to the gym at night to train more people, or for me to go to class. I was going to night class at the time, and literally, and then I'd go out and like party and like go out and drink, and then like I would sleep like 3 hours hungover and do that every day. I have no idea how I did. My girl all the time is like, "How did you do that when we met?" I'm like, I don't know. But made it
Garry,
work.
you do realize that we're going to talk about that story in another podcast. Yeah, because you just can't briefly talk about something as intense as that and pretend we're not going to talk about it.
I'm curious about the duct tape on all over the walls. That's a new one. I never heard of something like that.
Yeah.
Garry, you know what? Talking about that jiu-jitsu story and how foreign it was to people, like something similar happened to me when I first started Kimera with my partners. Like whenever I would tell people about, adding vitamins to coffee, they're like, what? Like adding white powder to coffee? What the hell are you doing? Like, so I realized that you can't really take advice from people who haven't walked your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically no one knows anything unless they've done it or done something similar. So it's just so foreign to them. They can't even construct like a well thought out opinion or give you good advice.
Yeah. I think most of the people that would be giving you the advice, like, I mean, this is just probably a good general statement. I would guess that the majority of people do exactly that. Like they had some hope to do something creative, start something new, or, maybe start their own business, or maybe just do something that like maybe not everybody thought they were going to make money doing, or whatever the case may be. And I think most people just settle and do whatever the easier thing was, not necessarily easier, but whatever the thing that they were.
It's a safer thing.
Yeah,
people
the safer thing.
Safer.
So because they did that, they probably think that's the best route for you too. You know what I mean? And they try to give you that advice. It's so rare, I think, that you come into contact with people that not only did what you were suggesting, whether it's starting a business or like us becoming athletes, but not only did it, but somehow became successful and were happy because of the decision, right? So it's hard to get that kind of feedback from people, I think.
And there's a common theme here, which is we've all put in like a bunch of work, different types of works, and we've executed whatever we're doing very well. So, you could.
We all went our own path. Like we veered off from what was around us, and I think that's a big part of it too. Like what Garry was saying, it's like we did things that other people didn't understand or couldn't really even grab their head around because it was so foreign from what they're doing. They wanted to be on the straight and narrow and have that safety net, and we went into really dangerous places where there was no foreseeable outcome and made it work. And I think that's really what what the takeaway should be. It's like, if you don't see a way, find one, make one.
Yeah, make one. Yeah.
And whatever it is you're doing, whether you're making badass coffee or choking guys unconscious or punching people in the face.
And I've seen people with really good ideas, but just like executed horribly. And then I've seen people that are hustlers and workhorses and have really shitty ideas or a shitty product, and they're like selling millions.
No, it's true.
So
it definitely happens. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, man. And there's people really, they're so risk adverse and failure adverse. Like, it's just, I think that it's okay, like, to screw up a little bit. Like, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I know sometimes it's tough, like when people have like a family already and things like that they have to support. Maybe that's a little bit of a different situation. I understand, because it's not just you taking a risk for yourself. It's you're taking a risk for other people. But especially when you're in that that perfect situation when you're young and you don't have any other responsibilities or anything like that. Like fail. So what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Screw up a couple times.
That's the good thing about being young,
something
man.
You want to do. So
if you go the wrong way when you're young, man, you got tons of energy and tons of life. You can just start over. Just keep starting over. Like you said, if you don't have a family and you're young, like, you got time. Time is the best commodity in the world, man. That's the most you can do anything with that, especially when you have more of it when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
I once saw Jim Carrey talking about his profession, and this is something that like I'll always think of, is that he was saying that his dad spent all these years working as a serious employee, like hard worker. He was miserable, but he was a really hard worker, and he was pretty good at what he did, and he still got fired. He got fired from his job, and Jim Carrey says, if someone like this, which was his role model at the time, can get fired doing something that he doesn't like, you should go ahead and try doing something that you do like and take the risk. Because his dad got fired. He's like, might as well try it,
Yeah.
I kind of butchered what he said, but you guys get the fucking message. Don't look at me like I'm an idiot. Don't fucking look at me like I'm an idiot.
I would say that this is probably a judgment-free podcast. I don't think anybody's pointing fingers around here.
I can see your eyes poking at me. I can see your eyes. Judgy eyes.
Eyewitness News, where news comes first.
Current events. Oh. So a new virus was found in China called the Wuhan coronavirus. Have you guys heard of it?
Corona, like Coronas? Like
no,
Mexican beer?
It's not. Nothing related to beers.
Okay, that's good.
You guys haven't heard of this virus?
No.
No, sir.
It's a new virus that seems to have started at like some type of fish market, and the death toll has jumped from like 5 to 17 in the last week, and there's like 500 people infected of that, and there is yet to be a vaccine for it. So they have contained everybody in the Wuhan city, so no one can leave.
Well, hopefully they don't do what
Everyone's
they did to
contained.
pigs that got infected. Did you see that?
The what?
They had like some outbreak of some virus with pigs in China, and they took all the pigs,
Yes.
rounded them up, put them in a pit sprayed gasoline on them and just burned them alive in the pit.
Jesus, that is
it's insane. And
brutal.
the sounds that come from the pigs, bro, it's insane. Like it's like hard to hear. Like
That's terrible. It must have smelled awesome, but that's terrible.
bacon.
Yeah, just
Where's the bacon at?
football field full of bacon. So what kind of virus is this? Is this like zombie apocalypse stuff, or like what kind of sickness?
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, everybody blows stuff out.
So
of
it could be,
proportion,
it could literally be zombie apocalypse. Like we got people. Like,
yeah, kind of. Yeah.
woo, my mind is racing right now. This is
You
ready.
guys need to start
got a
loading
lot
up
of
on
hanging
weapons.
on my walls.
I think
Gary
Gary and I
can
would
break
do
out
really
some of his
well
weapons.
in the zombie apocalypse. I think we'd be all right. This guy could eat anything, obviously.
Yeah.
And-
Dude, Gary
I'm
would
surviving,
fucking
for sure.
kill it. He would live off like just.
he would just go from
shit.
7-Eleven to 7-Eleven.
You guys want to hear something funny? So I have a friend of mine that she's got like a crazy roommate, and the roommate is like all about like all natural organic stuff, this, that, and the other thing. But I guess he's also like a little paranoid. So when the conflict with Iran and stuff was starting to fire up, he went to the store and bought a bunch of food so that like if there was some sort of, I don't know, like state of emergency or something, like
Global
they were
event,
trapped indoors, they would have food to eat. But what he bought was a bunch of jars of baby food, and I think with the intention that like baby food's like organic, healthy, this sort of thing. But like because baby food is like that, it doesn't last very long. Like baby food only lasts
So it's
like
not good
a
rations.
couple
to-
weeks. So I asked her, I was like, check the expiration dates on those canisters. She's like, this one expires this week.
Yeah.
So he bought like towers of the of baby.
Yeah,
Spend
Robin-
all
Robin
this
baby
money
food
being
all
a
week, babe.
dumbass. Jesus, not good.
People are crazy, dude.
So you guys know Tekashi 6ix9ine,
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
my favorite artist.
the little snitch. So his lawyer wanted him to serve his 2-year sentence, the rest of his sentence, in home confinement, because
Like he's getting bullied.
yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of blood members that he snitched on in the prison, and that shit was shot down.
Yeah,
They're
leave
like,
his
hell
ass in
no,
there.
go back to, hell no, you're staying there.
Yeah.
Should have
Snitches,
thought about that
snitches.
before you
Getting
started snitching.
fucked. Yeah,
Snitches get stitches, baby. That's it.
right. So anything that we can take away from this is don't snitch. If you're ever thinking about snitching on your coworker, on your brother, or on your friends, just think of the consequences. Snitches are bitches that often get stitches. It's Chris's fitness tips he's got for you. He's got the little tips. He's gonna give it all to you. Just the tip. The little fitness tip. He's gonna give it all to you. Peter McGee. So he asks, yes. My friend says she's vegan 80% of the time and eats fish. Is she an idiot? I don't know. This question.
Yes. Simple answer, yes. Absolute idiot. You can't be vegan any percentage of the time. If so this is I get this question a lot about people, or I deal with a lot of people who think they're vegan, and they tell me like, oh, I eat eggs though. Like, you're not vegan. Or, I'm a vegan, but I eat fish. Like, no, you're not. Like, you're a pescatarian. That's an entirely different subset of. They're all subsets of vegetarianism, and veganism is the most strict. Right? That's meaning you're eating no animal products. There's nothing coming from animals. A strictest form of veganism doesn't even eat honey, because honey is a product of an animal's production, of a bee, a honeybee. Pescatarians eat fish. They don't eat any meat. They don't eat pork. They don't eat eggs. They eat just fish and vegetables. Then there's a lacto-vegetarian, which actually has dairy. So vegetarians who eat dairy as well. Then there's octo-vegetarians that have eggs with their dairy, with their vegetables. And then there's lacto-octo-vegetarians.
So there's a bunch of subsets trying to find loopholes and.
One likes
No, Chris, there's only 2 genders.
We live in a world where there's more than one gender. There's way more than one vegan and vegetarian. So, yeah, I mean, anyway, there's a lot of people who claim the vegan set, but they're either cheating or lying, or they don't even understand. Like, if you're a vegan and you eat butter, you're not a vegan. Like, even if that's the only animal product that you eat, if you cook your, anything in butter, you're not vegan. And I think people miss that a lot. And honestly, veganism, people ask me all the time about the health warrants of veganism. I personally don't think it's the healthiest way to live. And from what I understand, the people who are actually not good vegans and the people that like cheat and eat other foods are actually way healthier than the strictest of vegans.
Did you guys see the Game Changers documentary? Now that we're hitting the subject,
I haven't gotten through it yet because I get so angry. I turn it off.
Dude, it's like I feel like they cherry picked a lot of the information from there. I've heard a lot of
and it is crazy
debates, and the guy that went on Joe Rogan's show did a pretty good job backing up some of his claims. But I feel that the person that was being the counter to his points didn't do as good of a job as this guy did. He came in really prepared, and
you're talking about Wilkes when he was
yes.
Wilkes. Yeah. So I listened to that too. And Wilkes did a great job at discrediting Kresser, but didn't prove any of his points. Didn't prove any of the points that were refuted by Kresser in the documentary. He basically just attacked his credibility, which is a tactic in any kind of argument when you have an argument that way. But there was no science behind it, and I don't think Wilkes is the best guy to present the science anyway, even though he's a very smart guy and has great, research and scientists behind him. And Kresser's definitely not the best guy to do it. I like to see my buddy Lane Norton get on there and talk to these guys because number one, he has a PhD in exercise physiology and I believe biochemistry and nutrition. He does research, and on top of it, he's a fucking athlete. He's a really strong guy. So say what you will about him, but he has the education and he is an athlete who performs.
So one thing that I think would be really important for you to talk about or for us to discuss is the protein content in vegetables and the protein content in meat. Because in the documentary, I kind of saw that they were comparing it as if they were apples to apples.
Right.
Which
and they're not.
Right.
So even before we got on here, Gary was talking about amino acids. And I was saying that I actually use a vegetarian vegan protein supplement. It's a pea protein, but I add branched chain amino acids to it because the amino acid content of vegetable sources of protein is much less complete than that of animal proteins, which are biological value is what we call proteins that have high amino acid profiles, have very strong amino acid profiles, because we have so many different kinds of amino acids and the amounts that are in them are different. So animal products have way more. The biological value is higher than those found in plant sources. And P being the highest of a lot of these specific amino acids that are important for muscle strength and recovery, they're still far below that of any kind of meat product.
So the amino acid profile in vegetables is nowhere near the amino acid profiles in meat.
Right.
Therefore,
so
the bioavailability within.
That's another thing. So there's certain things in vegetables that can block some of the absorption of these amino acids as well. Things like fiber and the water content, and so the bioavailability is really important too. So yeah, how much is in it, but how much can your body take out of that? So the availability of, like, if we compare animal versus non-animal, we compare iron, for example, heme iron versus non-heme iron, the absorption rate is worlds different. You would have to eat so much of the non-heme iron to get the same effect within your body as eating the heme iron, which is what you found in animal products. So it's really easy to kind of skip over this kind of more in-depth information and to make your point that, oh no, it's apples for apples, like you said, or it's like, it's not the same. We're not made of the same. They're not made of the same stuff, and the way that our body breaks it down is not the same.
There's a lot to learning about how to appropriately do that kind of stuff too. Like I remember when I was in school, they taught us like that iron thing that you were talking about before, and how like anytime that if you're gonna choose to live a lifestyle where you're not gonna have meat in your diet and things like that, it's very important that like when you have your high, all your vegetable meals and stuff like that, where you're trying to get your iron from your vegetables, that you also add some sort of vitamin C source,
Yep.
Where your body just literally can't take that iron at all out of the out
Yeah,
of the
vitamin
vegetable.
C acts like a catalyst for the absorption of the iron and the non-heme iron. But then there's also things like caffeine which block the absorption. So
Mhm.
you could have vitamin C with your non-heme iron source and your iron source, but then you have tea at the end of your meal, and it can blunt the absorption rate. So like nutrition is so complicated, and it's very easy to kind of dumb it down and talk to the public about people who don't know what they're looking at. In a situation like Game Changers, to be like, oh damn, vegetables are the way to go. It's the same thing. That's gonna make me a better athlete.
Yeah, and a lot of people after seeing that want to switch to a vegetarian diet. Like I've heard you can't imagine like all the people that sent me clips from the documentary and like, what do you think of this? Like
Yeah, same, bro.
this is
Same.
crazy. Like look at all these guys doing it.
Well, I
But,
hope that all
it's
of mine
misleading.
and Gary's opponents all choose to go vegan from now
Yes,
on.
agreed.
I
think
hope they
that-
all do that.
It's really interesting, like when some of this stuff kind of comes out, because it's like obviously there's an agenda behind this, right? So
Yes.
we could easily make the exact same documentary that's completely one-sided with only facts to back up, eating meat, and not talk about any of the good qualities of, eating vegetables and not meat, and make an identical documentary in the same regard.
I'm
That's
sure the
what's so
carnivore
tough
people are working on one right now, which is also asinine. But
Yeah, but it's just to say, like, people, I'm sure there's a lot of useful information in the documentary. I'm sure there is. I didn't get to see it, but when people just take things like that at face value and they like start making life-changing decisions because of it, it seems a little short-sighted. Like you really should probably do more research than just watching one documentary, which clearly has an agenda to try to get you to switch from, one lifestyle to another. It's like,
And an extreme lifestyle.
yeah,
sure.
very, very extreme.
I feel like a well-balanced diet is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are omnivores. There's no arguing that. And we're not carnivores either. We're not carnivores and not herbivores. We're omnivores. We can
You
eat
say there's
both.
no arguing that, but I don't think you've been on the
Yes.
internet enough recently.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you live? Under a rock, bro?
Yeah,
don't- they don't give
I'm
a
saying that there really isn't. Like the people who are, you can argue anything. You can argue the sky is green, but ultimately it's not. We are omnivores. Like, and not only physiologically, but historically, it's not a real argument. Even though
Sure.
this is what a lot of forums are talking.
Also, like if you were, let's say you're just an average guy, an average person, trying to put on some muscle mass. Maybe you go to the gym, you do some cardio.
Trying to be like Gary.
Trying to be like Gary, trying to be like me, maybe kind of like you, Chris. But
I'm more like trim and sexy. A little bit.
He's the lean cuisine.
Yeah.
they would need, so if they think that, okay, let's say that you had a regular diet, right? And you saw this documentary and you say, after the whole peanut butter sandwich comparison, you say, okay, well, a gram of vegetable protein for a gram of animal or whey protein that I was drinking. And let's say that this person was consuming 100 grams of animal or whey, whatever protein. And now they switch to a vegetarian diet and they try to do 100 grams of protein from vegetables.
First of all, good fucking luck. You can be eating a shit ton of vegetables.
Yeah.
And not only that, the content within the gram
Carbs,
of that protein
fiber. Yeah.
is not the same.
That's a great point, Gary, that you just brought up. That nobody brings up. It's like, the volume of food that you have to eat when you're eating. Like, yes, can you get as much protein? Can you get protein from a vegan diet? Can you sustain? Yes, absolutely. The volume of food you have to eat is insane. You have to,
And
eat
it's mostly
so
from
much.
carbs.
Right,
well.
there's a lot of carbs. So initially, when people switch over, there's something called the vegan honeymoon. So you're introducing a ton of fruits and vegetables into your diet, which most people don't. You got people who go from eating like Gary, and now they're eating a ton of vegetables and fruits and veggies. Granted, Gary trains all day long, so let's not get confused with people at home. But you have guys who are living the typical American diet, typical American lifestyle, and they put in a bunch of tons of fruits and vegetables into their diet. Their health is going to increase. Also, you got carbohydrate going way up. So a lot of athletes who are undercarbed anyway now feel better. That shit runs out though. You're gonna gain weight or gain not good weight from all the carbohydrate intake. And two, the micronutrient deficiencies that you're gonna run into if you're not really on top of it are gonna start to show after a couple of months.
And if you're just an average person, casually working out, you'll probably become a fat ass trying to consume all those calories.
Yeah, I have friends who've turned over and they said, when I first started going vegan, like I got fat, like I had to figure it out. It took some time. I'm like, yeah. A lot of vegans I know are fat. So you're either fat or you're starving to death. It's one or the other.
Or skinny fat.
My favorite one that I ever saw was they did this documentary or mini doc or something on this chick that she was trying to take it a step further, and she believed that she could learn to photosynthesize.
Ooh,
And
nice.
she was literally like, so what she would do is she somehow conned her husband into working like 16-hour-a-day shifts, because like, she had like a ton of kids too. So the husband would work like 16-hour-a-day shifts as like a grocery store manager or something like that. And so he's pulling in all the money, and she would literally just sit outside in the sun all day and do like yoga, and that was it. It was like it was such a sad fucking thing to watch. This crazy lady fucking manipulate this poor fucking nerd.
And she's just dying. She's outside getting.
She's like, well, I haven't quite 100% figured it out yet. You know, I still have to eat a little bit here and there, but I think I'm getting closer. Like, yeah, okay.
A plant. Like, what?
I just wanted her to
fucking
commit
nut
so that
job.
she would fucking die, but come on.
Gary's like watching, like tuning in every week.
Just waiting for her to
Believe in
die.
you. Stop eating.
It's Gary's product review. Shit nobody needs, but Gary buys too.
I don't know if you're going to be able to get this in frame, but I'm going to do my best.
Let's see what Gary's got for us.
Oh, fuck yeah. Grabbing the bull
Yes.
by the horns, you know,
Yes.
literally.
Is that Ben Stiller?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know how,
That's from Average Joe.
yeah. You know how everybody, like,
Dodgeball.
walks out to their fights, like, with, like, an American flag or Irish flag or whatever? I'm going to wrap that thing around me during my next fight.
Dude,
Oh,
that
yes.
will be amazing.
Gonna be
So wait a minute. Are you going to drop the Wolverine look?
What's that?
Are you going to drop the Wolverine look?
You never know what look I'm going to pull off.
Dude, I
Never
feel
know.
like
I might just
I-
feel like
do-
one tiny little
I feel
tuft
like
of
the
hair, like, in
Asians
front of my head.
love the Wolverine look.
Hell yeah. Gary, do you not know? Do you wait until like last minute to figure it out, or like do you have it in your mind? Like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just not gonna tell anybody.
I go through a bunch of different things. Sometimes I commit to something like well ahead of time if it takes like a lot of effort. Like for instance, like ADCC, I didn't have enough time to do it, but I wanted to do like a mullet. And then when they cut my hair, it wasn't really mullet-esque, so I couldn't really grow into it. It kind of ruined it. And then I turned out looking like Colonel
Like a
Sanders.
jacked Uncle Sam.
I was trying to look like Uncle Sam. I wanted my hair to dye gray. So
Dude,
it's always a fucking adventure.
It
trying
was
to figure this shit out.
it was the most American thing I've ever seen. It was
And,
like he was Captain America.
In kickboxing, when I fought for my first world title, first of all, I had fucking cornrows in, which looked insane, not good. And then I came out to I'm a real American with an American
Yes.
flag around me because I was fighting a Canadian national champion. We were fighting for our world title,
Nice.
and yeah, so I came out with the American flag wrapped around me and doing that, and I also had the Apollo Creed American flag trunks on as well.
That's awesome.
Full American,
Dude.
all American.
Dude, you should have seen Gary at the fighter like meetings. No, it wasn't a meeting. It was like a dinner. They had like some dude, everyone was like sitting down having dinner, and Gary was in the middle just dancing up a storm in like cowboy boots. And you could see like he had this Instagram story where you could hear the females in the background like, "Oh, Gary, you're so funny. Gary, so funny. Me so
I
hard."
inserted those voices in post. Those are
Oh man, you just fucking ruined it for me. I'm like, dude, the Asian ladies love them some Gary. Really? Come on, man. No, dude.
Dude, I'm coming out for your next fight.
I was pumped,
Woo.
dude.
pumped.
I was pumped for you.
There's some.
Frankie,
there's
we going? I'm obviously going, but
Not after this. Not after this. He just fucking ruined it for me. Our Gmail is fleshwoundpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any subject that you want us to hit,
Any nude
send an
you wanna
email. Email
any
us
body part you guys want to see.
any. And if you're gonna send dick pics, please send them straight to Gary's DMs. All right, guys. Well, this has been a good one.
Good night.
Love you, dudes.
See you
Peace.
later.
I move for no man, no man, no man, no
All right.
man, no
We'll call it a draw.
man.
Just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound.